Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar. I'm Michael and Trevor Toll, the Marketing Manager for Solution Systems Inc. Today we have customers and others attending this webinar, so just a bit about Solution Systems before we begin. We are located in Rolling Meadows, Illinois, and we have been in business for 35 years providing software, IT infrastructure, and web development to organizations in the Chicagoland area, as well as Wisconsin, Indiana, and the Midwest region. We are a Gold Certified Microsoft partner. We sell, implement, and support an ERP software called Microsoft Dynamics NAV. NAV is a business accounting software that is geared toward manufacturers, distributors, and service companies. We also sell, implement, and support CRM as well as outsource IT services to our customers. Today we are very fortunate to have Rick Baxter with us from Cost Control Software, and he will be conducting this overview. So I'm going to pass it over to him so we can get started with that.
Here. And then at the end of the webinar, for those of you on the call, if you are interested in the replay, I will explain to you how you can get a copy of the replay, because you may have other people in your business that would be interested in learning about charting as well. Okay, so I'm going to get started. This is going to be a fun day. I love it. Okay. Charting in Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013. My job is to make it as easy to use as possible. I'm going to do my very best to do that. I will point out a little disclaimer here. This is not a class on daily workflow within NAV 2013. So I'm not going to show you how to print checks. I'm not going to show you how to do a purchase order. So I'm not going to be covering those things. I'm going to assume most of you on the call are here because, I'm looking down the list, most of you on the call are already fairly familiar with NAV software. We're going to be focusing on the charting functionality. So let's get started. Number one topic that I'm going to cover is using what's called the included charts. Many of you may not even know that there are charts that Microsoft actually includes with the software. You just don't know they're there, and you don't know how to put them on the screen. So I'm going to kind of cover how to add these charts, the included charts, to your role center, and then we'll talk about how to add them to your list pages as well. But let's start with the role center. So I'm going to move this out of the way for just a moment. We'll come back there a little bit later. So here's the role center, typical role center within, now this will, and by the way, what I'm going to show you here is pretty much the same in NAV 2013 and 2013 R2. And I'm sure in the next release, 2015, coming in November, December, they will have maybe even some additional enhancements to it beyond what I show you. I just haven't seen the product, so I don't know. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to see is the included charts. So this is the freebies. So I always take the freebies whenever you can, and we are going to add a chart over here on the right side. So what we do is up here in the left, you just click that little down arrow if you haven't seen that before, and there's an option here to customize the page. So we're going to customize the page. This pops up a little diagram, customize the role center. So we're customizing the, in fact, you can kind of see it here if I move it down. This is the Manufacturing Plus activities here. On the right side is customers, my production orders, my notifications. That's what is on the list there on the right. We're going to add, this is, in fact, you might know this because this is where, like, for my vendors, if you want to add that in, you can put my vendors over here. You can move it up, you can move it down, that kind of thing, or you can remove it totally off, back off the list. The one we're going to focus on is chart part. Right there, chart part, and I'm going to add a chart part, and it puts in a blank chart. Let me move that up, and there's a second step to this, is that you have to customize the part. Customize the parts right here. So you say customize the part, and these are the included charts. Okay, all these, I'll just kind of scroll my mouse down a little bit. So these are all the different charts that actually comes with your software. Many of you may not even know that they exist, but they do. And we're going to add one just so you can see it. I'm going to pick this one right here, sales order per location. And I'm just going to click OK. So now it changes from chart part to sales order per location. And then I just hit OK. And if everything goes well, I get my first chart right on the screen. Now, how easy was that? Okay. In fact, let me ask a poll. Those of you on the call, have you ever done this before? Did it look easy? Piece of cake? You know, just type in, you know, I followed what you did, or please do that again. How did you do that? I want to be sure everybody kind of understands the process there. Okay, Ashnell says no, but looks easy. Okay, Rosemary says, yep, easy. Haven't done, but looks easy though. Chris says that. Marty says easy. Okay, David's easy, easy. Okay, easy to follow. Good. Okay, so everybody's with me on that first step. Okay, now that's adding it to the role center, and everybody's going to have a different role center. Yours, I'm sure, is not going to look like mine. Just be aware of that. That's the beauty of 2013, is everybody's role center tends to look a little different because you have different choices, different things that you go into, but yet you still have the ability to come in here and customize the page. Okay, just customize the page, and then you can move it down, you can move the chart down, you can move it up, you can add a second chart. So you could say add again. Puts the chart in here, a blank one, you customize it, you pick up probably a different one. Sales orders, let's say sales order PO per currency. Let's put that there. So I'm just picking a couple here. Then I say okay. And so now I've got my locations, and then if I go down further, here's my one, PO per currency. So you're getting the idea. And by the way, if you want to take these off, there's some little tools that kind of show up. If you click on those, you can very quickly just hit remove, and that takes that off. So it's a personalization change that you're making. This is not a global change. It's a personalization just for your individual screen. Okay, so let's go back to the study guide, make sure I stay on track. So that's adding it to the role center. Let's take a look at how to add it to your list pages. Okay, and I do encourage you to make a logical choice here when you add things to a list page. For example, if you're on a vendor list, then you might want to put the POs by location. If you're on a customer list, put the sales orders by location. You wouldn't want to put the POs on the customer list, and you wouldn't want to put the, the other way around. So you do kind of want to make sure that it makes sense the way that you place the charts. Let's go take a peek. Again, very simple. Let's go to the customer list, and we'll do that sales order by location. So I'm going to come in here to customers, and there is a chart. Now this chart comes with the software. I'm going to just, though, for right now, I'm just going to remove that one because, yeah, okay. So and there's lots of charts. Some come with it, some work differently, but I want you to see what are called the generic charts. That's what we're going to kind of focus on in this webinar. Okay, so I've got the customer list, and I want to add in a chart. Okay, so same thing applies. We go here, we go down, customize this page, and customize this page right there. So customize the page, and then you simply, it is actually a fact, it's kind of like a fact box, quite frankly. So it's over here on a list page, it's more of a fact box design, same for a card. So here's the fact boxes that are on my sample. The sale to customer number, the sales history, that's this one down here, links down here, and notes further down. Again, you just say chart part, add it in, you position it wherever the heck you want it. I'm going to put it right up at the tippy top. I'm going to customize it, and here's the list of included charts. These are the ones that come with the software out of the box. And this customer list, let's put the sales order by location. So sales order by location. That's this one. Okay, so Is that the one I put on the open? I may have used that twice. Sorry if I did. I don't think so. Let me just look. This one, oh, I did. I used it twice. Sorry. Okay, so you can pick and choose any of the ones. Sometimes you have to kind of experiment. You know, just pick the different ones that you want. But it's so handy to have this graphical view here on the right side. And a little later on, I'm going to show you how you create your own chart, because they provide, you know, those included charts. But very often you'll want your own chart as well. Now, when you're on a card, it's a little different. It's not that much different, actually. So if I go to a card view, so let's pull up this customer. So now I'm on an individual customer's card, and maybe I want to add it here, a chart here as well. Okay, same process. You click Customize. You go to this page. So it is a little different. You go to this page. And then I go to fact boxes. So these are the fact boxes here on the right side. And again, there's some others that are there that aren't always added in. You can add those existing ones, or just add the chart part and then customize it. And the one I want to put here, let's see, I'm on the customer card. So I want something that makes sense for a customer. Okay. And I'm not going to use these Q ones. I'll explain those a little bit later on. Sales orders, balance per customers per sales. Maybe this one. Customers per salesperson. So let's put that one right there. So, and maybe I'll move it up as well. Put it up there at the top and say OK. So again, you see what's happening is I can see I'm on this customer on the right side. It shows the number of salespeople. This is a count kind of chart. Shows me the number of salespeople that are, shows the customers, a count of customers that are assigned to each salesperson. So it looks like JR has 59. Notice if I hover on it, it gives me the answers. You can see the charting here. So it's just taking those data points and kind of displaying them there. Now, if there's something like this that is blank, see, this doesn't have a salesperson code, so that tells me that there's 3 salespeople or 3 customers in my sample that don't have a salesperson code assigned to that customer. So you get some information there as well. What I do find is that most, and I made a note of this here in the study guide, is that most of your charting will go on the Role Center and on list pages. That's kind of where you put the information, is right on the Role Center itself or on list pages. But just use that concept of fact boxes and it'll drop it in there. Oh, and I closed my study guide, so hold on just a minute. I got to get that back. Come back. All right, so that's the first steps. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a little more advanced. We're just kind of getting started here, getting you warmed up. And I'm not sure exactly how long this recording will take, but we'll just kind of see as we go. I'm not going to rush through it. I want you to understand it very clearly. Okay, number 2 is list as chart. This is a new concept. Okay, looks like it doesn't work at first. So as I go into this, at first you're going to go, well, that didn't work. But what the key is that you define the X and the Y coordinates and maybe a Z axis as well. But typically it's the X and Y. And there's an example, for example, on the X axis you might have the customer, the location, a salesperson, dates, things like that. And the X axis, for those of you that aren't aware, if I just use this as an example of a chart, down the bottom is the X axis, and up and down on the left side is the Y axis. Little geometry there for you. And that's things like amount and quantity. So let's go try and do one. So we're going to do a simple customer list, and we're going to do it by location code and the balance due. Okay, so let's move this out of the way, and we'll go in to the software and show you that. So here I am on a customer list, And notice I'm displaying the balance due for these customers, and I want to show that by location. And you see the location codes are out here as well. Now, here's the choice. It's show as chart. Right there. Show as chart. It comes in, defaults by a list, but any list can be shown as a chart. And the first time, I got to tell you that when I first went into this, and I picked this choice, and it goes, oh, nothing here, this isn't working, I left. I said, no, that didn't work, so I'm going to come back, show as list, and never go back there again. Wrong. You've got to do something. So show as chart, and there's two important things that you've got to do. First of all, read the screen. Select measures and dimensions for the chart. So the dimensions are down here and the measures are up here, and there's actually a Z dimension as well. But I'm going to recommend that you start with the bottom right, which is the X-axis, and you select a dimension. So you just click it. And these are all the potential dimensions, and I can just scroll up and down because I'm on the customer, so there's lots of stuff here, right? But we're going to do this, what I say, location. So I'm going to go down. This is all alphabetical, so it's quick to find stuff. So I'm going to put location code as my X-axis, and then my Y-axis, I'm going to put the balance due from that customer right there. And instantly, I get a chart. Now, you got to believe that's simple. You just have to do those two things. Select the location code down here and select the balance due up here. Or you can add additional things. You might want to do balance due and compare that to the credit limit. And now you've got balance due and credit limit. Now there's only a couple people. There's these little reds down here. So, you know, now we've basically got two measures going on the chart. Okay? So show as list, that's the way it comes in by default. Show as chart comes back this way. It will remember, well, in some earlier versions, it didn't always remember the chart. In the current releases, I believe starting 2013, it now does. So if you exit out and come back, or even close and come back, it drops it into the personalization and remembers the measures and the dimensions that you have put into this chart. Okay. Now, a couple tips here. You can also just very quickly switch to maybe some different X-axis terms. So maybe you want to see the balance due by salesperson. So that might be another interesting way to look at it. So I find here's salesperson code. So I go boom, and then now I see the balance due and credit limits by salesperson. Okay? Or if I want to see it by payment terms. So I just switch here and I come down to, just have to find payment terms. Payment terms code right there. So then you can see, you know, the balance due by, you know, current month, 20 days, you know, 14 days based on payment terms. And notice too, when you hover over the bars, it gives you the pop-up that tells you the exact dollar amount, whereas you kind of look over here, you're getting the approximate. By the way, this scale, everybody always asks about this. How does it get that scale? Well, it does that automatically based on the, I think it's probably based on the tallest bar. It calculates the scale and drops it in. So you don't have to worry about the scale being auto-generated. Now, think about all the places and all the different ways that you can use this. Okay, it's not just here on customers. It's any list. Okay, so if you're on a list of sales orders, okay, and you want to show this as a chart, guess what? It's right there. If you're on purchase orders and you want to do some charting based on the values of your purchase orders, you can apply that and do the show as chart option. You can pre-filter this. So on my purchase orders, for example, maybe I only want to show the released purchase orders. you can come in and you can filter the list by status and say released. Okay, press enter. Now the list gets shorter. And so now when I go and show as chart, whatever I select as far as my dimensions here, it's going to be based on that, onto that filtering, okay, until you cancel the filter, and then it's back to the entire list. So pretty simple process there. One warning I did put in the study guide here is not the number. Not to use the numbers. Usually there's too many customers or too many sales orders. So then normally in your x-axis, so if I did try this on purchase orders. Yeah, let's just do it and I'll show you why it's not very good. So I'm going to go to show as chart, and we'll come in and we'll put the PO number as this is my across the bottom, and then maybe an amount. That's good enough. And you see, there's so many. There's so many in here. And it's great to see some of these values in here. But because there's so many, it stacks them up and it's hard to read. And especially if you've got, 1,000 purchase orders, it just doesn't make sense to put that much stuff in there. So be cautious as to what you select over here. Okay. Based on language code, there's only 4 or 5 language codes, so maybe that's pretty simple, okay? But like a posting date, look at all the posting dates, and so the chart doesn't give you as good a value when you are picking an x-axis that's got a lot of data points. Okay, if there's lots and lots of data points, you don't get as useful a chart as if you pick something that's maybe a payment terms code. And so then it's quicker and you get a more, what I would consider a more useful chart there. Okay, just a little tip. Okay, so I want to go back. Let's go back to our customer list here for just a moment. And I want to go to show as chart. Okay, so here's that customer chart that we built just a few minutes ago. It's showing the balance due versus the credit limit, and you can always adjust these. You can always come in and say, well, I'm not interested in comparing credit limits. I just want the balance due, so you can change it around as need be. But I want to review next a few what I'd call tips and tricks, okay, with these charts. And it's all to do with the right click, things that you can do with the right click. And I'm just going to run down through the list here. So kind of keep that handy. I don't think you need this. You might even have this printed out, but I'm just going to run down through some of the options. So when I'm sitting here and I right click, I get this little pop-up of some additional things that I can do. And let me just walk you through some of the great stuff that's available. So first is copy. So I click copy, and it's like, well, what did that do? Well, it copied it to the clipboard. It's like any other copy paste. So now if I open up my Word document, so let's just open up Word, and I've got some information in Word document, and then I want to go Control V. Guess what? I've just now pasted that chart into my Word document. Okay, and I can size it and so forth. So it's now basically a image right in my Word document. How cool is that? I love that. Okay, so now you can't edit it here. It's a one-time copy paste. You're kind of freezing it. Okay, so there's no editing function here, but you can change the size and so forth and include some of these charts in Word documents. Maybe you need to send out a report to somebody and you want to send a graphical view of that chart. Just realize you can do a copy paste right into Word document, and it works into Excel or a variety of any document that can accept a copy paste function. Okay, I'm not going to save that one. So that's the first thing. That's copy. Save picture as. Okay, this comes into play as well. If you ever want to save, let's just save it to the desktop. So we'll just say this is customer chart. That'll make it easy for me to find it. So I'm going to say save, and it's going to save it as a PNG file, or you can save it as a BMP. So I like PNGs, so I'll save that. And let me move this out of the way, and I just saved customer chart, and I got to just find it here. Probably can't find it. Oh my goodness, customer chart. Customer chart, where'd you go? You guys probably see it somewhere, and I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is, customer chart. Look, it's even got a little image of it. If I double click it, bingo. So it's in it's in my Windows editor. You could put it into maybe a paintbrush or something and do editing with it from there. That's pretty cool if you guys do any kind of graphical stuff. Just be aware that that functionality is there to save it as to do a save as, and then you can do it either a PNG or a BMP file. Okay, next one is printer setup, print preview, and print and just print. Okay, so the print setup allows you to kind of say what size paper you're going to put it on. Okay, pretty standard stuff. Margins, you can set margins. You can say I want to print it landscape or portrait. Okay, so that's all your printer setup options. Print preview actually lets you see what it's going to look like when you actually send it to a printer. You can print it from here. Okay, just print the chart, or you can just right-click and pick the print option, and then your whichever printer that you want to print to from the printer selection icon, the number of copies and so forth. So a lot of capability right there. And I'm sure nobody knew about all this stuff. Well, I'm hoping you didn't, so that's why you're here. I got a 3D one. Okay, so so people are experimenting already. So they're following. They're asking questions. So Paul Blow says how to select chart type. Mine got a 3D one. Okay, if you have a 3D chart, this is a good question. So down here, there is a third dimension. So you might put in here, let's say, a balance due, and now you get this kind of looking chart, which is kind of cool because you can rotate this thing around and so forth. But if you got a 3D chart when you're doing it, that means you put in all of the dimensions. So as you're kind of starting, I would just go with a 2D chart, which is the X and Y axis, and then once you really want to get fancy, add in a third dimension for the Z axis. Roberto says, can NAV security prevent one from copying, pasting information and or charts out of NAV? I have no idea, Roberto. I'm going to assume that if you have security to get into this view, then all this functionality of copying, pasting, and customizing, which we'll do in a minute, is available to you. Can you filter on your X dimension? Oh, there's a question from John. Can you filter on your X dimension? So that's so the question is like payment terms code. So up here, you apply filters, and I would look for payment terms code. Now, these filter capabilities are only the columns that are in the list. So if you want to filter on something that is not in the list, you'll need to add in the code. So you'll need to add in the column. So if you want to have payment term codes as something to filter on, add that column in, and now payment term codes is available here. So when I'm on the chart, this is a little bit advanced, and if I'm going too fast, you may have to watch the replay. But now payment term codes is available for me to filter on, and then I can filter what I want down here. Okay. Advanced filters. Okay, so Chris is saying, can you turn on advanced filters? Absolutely. So here's the advanced filters, and they're all going to apply. This is just basically a different way to view a list. So anything that you're doing in the list view where you apply some of these advanced filters would be applying to the view as a chart. Okay, so the two are basically the same thing. It's just one's a chart view of the data. Okay, so I appreciate some of these questions. Okay, let's finish the list here, and the next one here, let's see, customize. Now I'm seeing, this is interesting. So I was expecting, I'm kind of hesitant here, export chart to XML, and I'm not seeing that on this particular chart. So it could be that some charts can be exported to XML, and if so, then you'll get an option there for that. I forget where I was, so I'm going to have to check that out. I'm going to move on to the last one, which is my favorite one, which is to customize. So I can hit customize the chart, and this is really cool stuff. Now I'm in a more advanced area. Watch closely here. So here is the data element that I've got. This is my balance due number right here. It's sum, and it's a column chart. But what if I want to make that a pie chart? How simple is that? Now I've got a really nice looking pie chart on the screen. Let me get rid of this one. We don't need this stuff here. Advanced, take those off. Okay, so it now has converted it, and I still get the pop-ups when I'm on one of the colors. I can see the various values. So again, what I did is I went to customize. I get a pop-up of some additional things that I can do, which is to control the graph type. So maybe I want to see it as a line. Never done this one. I'll do a line, see what that looks like. It's not bad. Okay, so there's a kind of a line view as well. So, and you know, you just have to, again, kind of play with these options. And I'm keeping it real simple for this presentation, but you can, you know, experiment with the different options there as far as the look and feel of the charts. Okay, I want to mention something else here. Maybe I don't. Copy chart. Bear with me just a second. I'm looking at my notes. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to number 4, which is, we've kind of covered these, covered this. Okay, filter long list. Okay, so this is a little tip I stuck in there, and some of you have caught on to this already about filterings. Filter long lists to make them easier to read. So sometimes if you get too much data in your chart, just filter your list down to a more manageable data set for displaying the information. And then also being able to sort a list on the column headings. That's kind of, I wasn't sure why I stuck that in there, but most of you probably know this by now. When you're sitting here on a list of customers and you've got balance, so you can click on this heading, and now it sorts your customers by that column. And in this case, it's by balance due, so I'm basically ranking my customers from who owes the most money down to who owes the least amount of money by just clicking the column heading. Same for location, sorting them that way. So it's, or just basically by number, which is how it sorts it out of the box. So if you haven't seen that, that's in R2, the 2013 R2. Pretty nice new feature in that release. Okay, we're going to go to number 4 on our study guide, which is to build a new chart with the customize copy option. This is also pretty nice. Sorry, this split across 2 pages here. We're going to use the customize chart and copy from a new design. I'll just use the one we've got. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm going to use, okay, no, I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to do a different chart for you here just to kind of keep this thing interesting. We're going to do opportunities, kind of a one opportunities by salesperson chart, and then we will show you the save function as well, and then how to position that chart. This is pretty neat. So this is a little tricky, but watch what we do here. So I'm going to start with my opportunity list. Now, if you're not sure about opportunities, I can just go to show you how I get there. I typically go to departments, under marketing, and then opportunities. Now, not everybody in the world uses opportunity management, but again, we're just talking some concepts here as we go through the software. So the first thing I want to do is I've got too much data in here, so I want to shorten the list down. So I'm going to just shorten this based on status. So I'm going to filter on status, and I just want to show the one WON opportunities. So now my list is down to a manageable set, and I do have values for these one opportunities. So we're going to do some charting on this data set. I kind of get it down to what I want. So we've done that. Let's show it as a chart. We'll define the chart itself, and across the bottom, it's going to make sense to put it by salesperson, since these are opportunities, and the value would be the it's probably the estimated value here. Okay, so now we can see the estimated values per salesperson of one opportunities. Okay, so it's got some filtering going on and so forth. Now, we've already covered the things like copy and printing and so forth, but I want to show you one other thing here with customize. Within customize, there's one other option that I didn't show you. Oh, there's that export. So, okay, two things I didn't show you. One is export chart. So you can export, this is where I was looking for, is like, where is that? So you can export that out to an XML document somewhere, and then save it as XML for those of you more technically inclined than I am. Okay, the other one that I definitely want you to use is this one here called copy chart. And I'm not sure copy is the best word. I think it really means more like save. But I can hit copy chart, and then I give it a name. So I'm kind of like naming this chart. So we're going to call it one opportunities. Maybe, yeah, WONOPPORTUNITIS. Okay. So this is one PORTUNITIS. Probably too big a name up here, but that's okay. So we give it a name, and say okay, and it says the chart was successfully copied. I think it should say successfully saved. And the question is, where did it save it? Okay. Well, it saves it in the list of available those included reports. Okay. So I could now be back here. Let's go back to marketing, and I could come into my opportunities again. We'll just do it here, and I'll show it as a list. So now I'm on this list, and I only want to show maybe a chart of my one opportunities. I'm on the list. I just go customize. We did this earlier, but now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to customize the fact box. So I'm going to come over here. We're going to add in a chart part, and let's move it up, and then I'm going to customize it. And guess what? Now, if everything went right, the name that I just typed in, which was one opportunities. Here's what I just typed in, remember? So I've added to the list of the included charts. Microsoft includes a bunch of these charts, but now I've added one of my own. I've designed one. And so because of the tool, I can place it any place I want. So now I've got my list of one opportunities over here on the right side, along with all the opportunities. You might want that chart that you just magically created, you may want that back on your role center instead of the sales. Well, that's not the role center. So here's the role center. Instead of sales order per location, we might want to pick, there's an option here, it's off screen, called customize. And instead of the sales order per location, we pick our one opportunities. And bingo, the one we just created for one opportunities is now right there on the role center. How cool is that? I love this. Okay, so it just makes it so you're so much in control with the software when you do that save option. Okay, so again, just realize where I was. I was in opportunities. So I'm going to backdoor it here. So I'm going to come opportunities. Is that the one I want? Opportunity list. This is what I want, opportunity list. So there's my opportunity list. And then I did a show as chart. And it's different. I came in a different way. That's why it doesn't have the chart here. So we're just dropping in again real quick. What did I have? Oh, salespeople. Salesperson code down there. And the values up here. There we go. And then I think I even applied a filter based on status. Okay, so you get the idea. Then I saved it. Okay, so I did the status thing and I said one. Is that what it was? Yeah. So there's my one opportunities. Okay, so I came in here, I customized, and then I did this copy chart, and it saves it. Now, here's the best part: is it's saving it in a list. Okay. And that list is accessible by you. So it's got all these nice charts that you've been building. You really work on this. And it's putting it. So if I go back to the role center and under departments, so you do have to have access to the departments list. So I'm going to come in here. You've probably seen this before. So here's departments. I go application setup. This is how you get to it. Application setup, role tailored client. And many of you have gone into profiles to select different role centers, but there's this generic charts right here, generic charts. This is the list of all of the included charts. In fact, I'm going to make one little change here. I want to take these off the screen because these weren't supposed to be here. Oh. So don't look at this. Close your eyes. Don't see what Rick's doing. Okay. So here's my list of charts, and the one we created a minute ago is this one opportunities down here. And you can edit that, and it opens up the same dialog that we had before, but it's put more information in here. And see, it's actually assigned the table number, and this 5092 is the actual table that's holding, I'm not going to go at it that way. It's holding the opportunities. Oh, there it is, the opportunity table, and the status is flagged as 1. It does this all automatically, and it puts it in there as a column. If you want this to be always as a pie chart or some other kind of chart, then you can define it and save it here, and it will always come up in that kind of format. Now, the beauty to this is really where we're going to go next, which is we can build a chart from scratch. Now, you get a little bit kind of adventurous here, but this is some pretty cool stuff. So let's say we want a chart about our production orders. Now, this, not everybody on the call is going to be using production orders, but you're going to get the idea. So I'm going to do production orders by source, and source is what the item is that you're making. So here's how to build this thing from scratch. So first of all, you get to the list. Remember how I got to the list. Let me just back up to be sure you know how to get here. So in fact, I'll just do it one more time so you know how to get here. Do application setup. I do role tailored client, and I come into generic charts. And of course, you can always use the search box and just type in generic charts. We won't worry about those. Okay, so we want to add a new one. So guess what? I'm going to pick new. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to build a chart. We're going to define a chart from scratch. Okay, and we're going to call this production orders. That's just the name of it. Okay, and production orders. And the source type, there's two options here. There's table and query. Now, in this webinar, I'm not going to cover query option. I'm just going to show you the table option. It's the easiest one to use, and this is where you definitely should start with your learning curve about charting. So start with table. The source ID, okay, is basically which fields in the table do you want to, oh, I'm sorry, this is what table do I want to use, not field, sorry. So the source ID is going to be table 5405. I looked that up ahead of time, sorry. 5405, that is our production order list. Okay, so it's our production order list, and maybe that's all production orders. Maybe I want to filter that down so I'm only looking at released production orders. So I pick status, and I say OK, and the value is released. So now I'm getting a charting on just my released production orders. So this is where you can define filters, okay, for your charts. Now we're getting more specific. So now we're going to get into what do we want to put as far as our data columns. Okay, so the required measure is our first one. And what I want to basically display is quantity. So I'm going to put in quantity here. And aggregation is I want a summation of the quantities. So I can see the total that I'm making of a particular item. And it can just be a simple column chart. You can put a title. Okay, the y-axis is quantity. That's up and down the left side for those of you not knowing x and y-axis. And do have this checked so that it shows it. And then the x and y-axis, so here for the x-axis field, is going to be the source number. So across the bottom is the items that I'm producing. And so URCE number. Okay, so I typed that one wrong. So let's take a look here. So the source, oh, it's number period. Okay, so I did it with the lookup instead of typing it in. And I'm going to show the value on the that title. Okay, so I think you're getting the exact hang of this. So once you get this filled out, okay, just hit OK. And now that new one's added to my list of, these are the included charts, and these are the ones that you have added and made them part of your included charts. Now the one thing that's different here is that it's like, well, wait a minute, what does that chart look like? Okay, what does the chart look like? So what I recommend that you do, and you can see I've already done it here with some of these others, is I've just modified the fact boxes within this chart list because it comes up blank. Yours will come up blank if you haven't ever used this before. Yours will come up blank, and then you just simply add in a new chart part. So you just simply say, as we've done before, we're going to customize the fact boxes, and I'm going to add a chart part. I'm going to move it up to the top of the list, and oh yeah, I've got to customize it, and I've got to pick the one that I just put in, which is my production orders. And I say okay, okay, and there it is. So here is now this new chart that I've created regarding production orders, but you got to realize that the only place that this is showing is here. Okay, so you'll probably want something like that on maybe a list of production orders. So if I go, let's just do that. So if I go back home and I come to my released production orders, that's this list here, and oh, in fact, I've already got it here. So I did this previously, and notice I've got this production order quantity is shown here based on my release production orders. So you get the idea, okay? You define it, and then you position it where it makes sense. Put it in a logical position, and it makes sense. Okay, now let me go back to my study guide for just a minute here. So that's building it from scratch. We talked about dropping it into a fact box. And that's going to wrap up this webinar, guys. But I do want you to know how to get the replay. So for those of you that are interested in the replay of this webinar, it is a fairly complex process. It's called ASK. So you can write that in your study guide there. How to get the replay is you just ask Rick. So if you would like a copy of this recording, because I have been recording this session, you can just simply send me an email. You can even just put it right in the Q&A box right here in the dialogue, and I get a copy of that. And so if you want a copy of it, then it will show up there, and I will be able to send it to you. Okay, so the last 10 minutes of this, I do want to open this up for Q&A. I will mention, I guess before we do the Q&A, I do want to mention one other thing, is there is some bad news to this, okay? It does take a little time to learn, okay? So it does take some time to learn. The good news, I really think it's easy once you know how. So, you know, seeing this webinar, maybe watching the replay will help you with the charting, but there's a lot of other things to learn. Our company, Cost Control Software, is all about training. And so training is real important. And we have lots of pre-recorded training classes on all sorts of other topics. Basics of NAV 2013, if you want to learn about that. If you want to learn about NAV manufacturing, if you want to learn about page designer, report designer, table designer. We've got individual DVD classes, okay, with videos similar to what you're seeing here, and you can buy those, and I offer it as a special offer here today as a bundle. So if you purchase them individually, they're $3,475 for the set, which I still think is a really good price for that much materials. I mean, these are all about 2 days a piece. And think what you would pay for a consultant for 10 days worth of training. It'd be phenomenally expensive. We bundle them together, and the price is only $1,997. If you're interested in purchasing that, there is a link in your study guide. Click that. It'll take you to our NAV training website, and you can order it there. I am going to open up for questions here, and I do want to put my contact information up on the screen so that you can always reach me if you need to. Again, my name's been Rick Baxter. Actually, it still is, at costcontrolsoftware.com. This is our company here in Carmel, Indiana, and we have a website specifically for NAV training that you might enjoy as well. It's called navtraining.net, not .com. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recorder and then open this up for anybody that has questions about any of the topics today. And if I can't answer them here, which I might be able to, I will have to get back with you